Yeah, I mean, the old lolly in the mouth is one thing, but me, I always like the Coke now. Just a quick scratch here and there when the umpire's not looking, you know?
You dabble, do you? I like I've sewn some chamois onto the front of my pants just to give it a polish when I give it a rub.
Not bad. I went with the sandpaper myself, just sneaking in the inseam, bit of a rub down, no one notices.
Actually, that's why I got out so often, just because I hit so many sixes, and then the ball hit the concrete, and then roughed
Oh,
up one
no.
side and reverse
And then
swing.
suddenly it's going all
That was
over.
my own worst enemy.
Oh, no, mate.
Hard and fast, wildcard, the Blackcaps. They got over Pakistan, and we had a few debutants doing the damn thing. Colin de Gronholm taking a wicket, or two, or six.
Or seven all up, 6 for
Yeah.
41 first innings.
G.
Not too
Ravel,
bad.
he scored some runs. What did you make of the debutants and how they fit into this Blackcaps test team?
Well, I mean, you can't argue that they did their jobs.
No, we love
We do love a job doer, I think is what you're trying to say. Mate, Ravel 55 in the first innings, 36 not out in the second. Not too shabby. De Grandhomme had a couple pops as well in his one innings, 29. Mate, I mean, I guess they're cemented in the team for a little while now. That's just sort of the problem. I'm going to just be honest here and keep it slightly 100. I don't know that this is a repeatable thing from these two.
No, and I am a bit wary about the Kiwi cricketing public and how fragile they are just with Colin de Gronholm's batting style. It might,
Oh, yes.
I don't think given how they treat Tim Southee, I'm not sure they're going to appreciate that too much. But what he offers,
McMillan back in the day.
accurate medium pace, Jeet Raval, just another solid opener. Like they just slot into this Blackcaps test team with the other bowlers we have very nicely for mine, especially de Gronholm.
How how good an interview is Colin de Grandhomme? The answer is not very, but it's
Refreshing.
entertaining. Refreshing is a
Yeah.
good word. Really shy, soft-spoken dude. I didn't expect that from his pummeling batting, but seems like a nice chap. I'm happy to have him. I'm happy to have been proven wrong and have him in the Black Cats for at least one more test.
Me too, for sure.
Absolutely. Not so much for Todd Astle, but just bowled the 4 overs and got a duck when he batted. And Santa's back now.
Oh,
so.
Santy Pants will probably come back
Probably,
into the team,
probably
won't he?
sweet. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about is you wrote a good thing last week about how Southee and Boult last couple of years kind of been on the slide down, the downward slide. Both bowled really well in this test. Started a little scratchy, but got like 5 wickets each for a 70 odd over the match.
They
Good
did
stuff.
indeed. I just want to reserve judgments until they bowl in Hamilton. Oh, it's their home deck, so they should do pretty well. But given the circumstance, Pakistan, no warm-up match, touring subcontinent team, green seamer for that first day,
Just had an earthquake,
just had an earthquake. Things are a bit shaken up. So
so to speak.
Southee and Boult, I think they were just, peaking, and then I'm just going to reserve judgment on what happens in Hamilton. But it was good to see them back bowling accurately, swinging the ball, and then you got Neil Wagner bowling short. You got Colin de Gronholm hitting top of off. That's all you need.
Yeah, I was just bloody good test cricket, I thought.
It was indeed. I love Test cricket, Wildcard.
Oh, I love test cricket. Nothing wrong with
it's-
test cricket, mate.
You got competitive teams everywhere. You got, some games go 4 days, some games go 2 days, some games go 5 days. It's just variety.
Yeah, it's a little bit different wherever you go. It's fantastic. No, there's nothing else like it.
No, there's
nothing else on the
mate.
planet.
Test
like it.
cricket is just the bee's knees.
Sort of like that Aussie rugby league team.
Sort of like the old Kangaroos. They are definitely the bee's knees, and eternally optimistic I am, but I did stop watching around the 60-minute mark. I had to go back to sleep, so I
34
gave
minutes
up.
for me.
Yeah, I gave up on that one. Just
Josh
disappointing.
Dugan
Kiwis forward pack just not showing up again. And Shannon Boyd, David Clemmer, Aaron Woods, Matt Scott, they just had a field day through the middle of the field. And then the Kangaroos, what they can do as well, pump around the ruck, and then an early shift, hit Greg Inglis, hit Josh Dugan, hit Valentine Holmes. Why not?
They destroyed that left edge of the Kiwis. Tohu Harris chucked in there. I mean, there wasn't real. I mean, you chuck in Tohu Harris or you chuck in Tamari Martin. Either way, it's someone who's not used to doing this on an international level, whether you play that level for your club team or not. So it was a bit of a. I mean, once Thingy was injured, but there is one other guy, isn't there, who knows how to play that position, who might be on a comeback at the moment, or.
Oh, Fozza?
Yeah, I'm still of that sort of mindset where I kind of convinced myself when he went away. when he took a break from the sport, I figured, well, until he plays his first game, I didn't even want to consider him for anything, any kind of, where he's playing, who he's going to play for, when he's going to get back in the Kiwis. Like, I don't want to assume any of that stuff until he's back on the field. But he is back on the training field and looking sharp. At least that's what the Mount Smart reports want us to believe.
And, I've been making excuses for the Warriors all season. For me, they're fair excuses. And the same excuses apply for the Kiwis, because guess who wasn't playing fullback? Mr. 200 metres himself, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Roger!
And so suddenly you chuck in Tuivasa-Sheck, you chuck in Foran, and Sean Johnson has a dominant halves partner. He's got
different story.
He's got one of the best fullbacks in the NRL. So I think all this talk of David Kidwell's job in danger, the Kiwis hitting rock bottom, there's no context to that. This is just...
Job's in danger after, a month?
Yeah, and that's Sean Johnson's not even as good as Jonathan Thurston or Cooper Cronk, but we expect him to do the same job as both Thurston and Cronk. It just doesn't make sense. So, disappointing result for sure. Kind of shitty, but hey, we live to fight another day.
Where the hell was my boy Gypsy?
Your boy Gypsy just
Jason Nightingale
doesn't make enough meters. Sorry, mate.
Yes, he does, though. It's the thing. Yeah. They're just not barging meters through the middle. He's slippery. He's a slippery Gypsy.
Stephen Adams makes plenty of barging meters through the middle of the court, up the guts, gee. How have you signed a big contract?
He did.
And now, how have you viewed his early NBA season form for the Oklahoma City Thunder, minus Kevin Durant?
I would say patchy. I would say it's been patchy. It's not quite been like we saw in preseason before he signed his big contract. We saw one or two flashes. I mean, even through the season, even since the contract, before the contract, he's had the odd game where he scored 15 points and 9 rebounds or something like that. He's had a couple of those good ones, but on the whole, you sort of expect him to be around there pretty much every night. I mean, what we saw in preseason was a dude who could maybe be scoring 20 points every now and then. He's not been that kind of guy. He's not getting the touches you'd expect. When he is, he's not necessarily shooting as well as we thought he would. A couple reasons for that. I would say he's just a dude who tends to start slow. Billy Donovan said this about himself. He is a guy who sometimes eases into a season. It's also very early in the season, so taking sample sizes, small as they are, a little bit sketchy. Also, I think the main thing here is just the fact that when he's not with Serge Ibaka, Kevin Durant around him, two forwards who stretch the hell out of that court, what's he going to do? You can see in that he used to score so many dunks from those little lob passes from Westbrook, because Westbrook would drive towards the lane. One dude, the other, the center would be stretched out, wondering, do I go with Adams here or do I go with Ibaka? Who's covering Durant's? Probably two guys on Durant. There's just so much room there. He's always got that lane to the hoop, get up, over, slam that thing down. Not happening this season. A little bit crowded. They've just kind of taken that away, and it's kind of making it slow. And it doesn't help as well that he's got a sore hand. He's playing bandaged up, and I think you can tell that's also having an effect on him.
What's doing with your shot, his one-hander?
Oh, the one-hander that I was talking about the other time. Well, I mean, it's there. You're seeing that. You're seeing that more than you're seeing his dunk, and I guess the reason for that is it's... If you're jumping up and throwing a one-handed little looping floater thingy over the top of someone, that's because you can't get close enough to dunk, right? He's a dude who does like his dunks. Probably another example of what happens when you take out two very good perimeter shooters from around him. He's having to jump over guys now, shoot over the top of them with a hand in his face, rather than just rolling to the hoop and doing it nice and easy. So it goes. But on a positive note, 88% free throw shooting. 88%.
Bank 'em.
Count 'em and the foul. Let's go to what's up next? Lydia Ko. Finished our first season with a 10th equal in Florida at the, where are we called? The CME Group Tour Championship.
She did indeed, and that wasn't good enough to see her finish first in the Rolex rankings and the race to CME Globe. She finished second in both of those to Thailand's Arya Jutu Nagaram, and who finished tied for fourth at this current tournament.
Yes.
Disappointing for Lydia Ko. Her last 6 results saw her finish tied for 43rd, tied for 20th, tied for 51st, tied for 12th, tied for 43rd, and tied for 10th here. So not the best finish to the season for Lydia Ko. Finished second in scoring average. She was leading that all season, and then she dipped away. But she still finished the season first in putting average, so she can putt. Girl can putt.
Silver medal at the Olympics as well.
Yep, not too shabby.
I'll take it.
Disappointing, but hey, she's a young phenom. Like, she's gonna. That's the thing about women's golf. There's other really ridiculously good women's golfers out there, and so it's not just Lydia Ko doing a thing all day.
Nah, and she's like, 19? I think this is her 3rd season as a pro. Pretty early days.
Early days indeed.
Pretty early days.
What's interesting, she's going to take some time off. She's not going to look at her clubs. So she deserves that. She deserves some...
Hang out with Steph Curry a bit more, or...
Oh, yeah. She might even pop down to Aotearoa. She might even say hello.
Hey. A Razzling and A-Dazzling, Doc. I'm gonna start things off. I'm gonna take the honours this week. I want to talk about South Carolina State College running back Joe Thomas. Made his career debut on the weekend. He started off with a 3-yard gain, ended up with 4 carries for -1 yards. Doesn't really sound like a razzler or a dazzler so far, does he? But here's the thing: the bugger's 55 years old.
What?
He's 55 years old playing college football. This was his first game, as I said. He started going to college in 2012 during the recession when his business collapsed, or it was in the process of collapsing, and he found he wasn't likely to get another job without a college degree, so he started doing that. He actually had to call his son up and say, like, son, you don't mind if I, start coming to classes with you or anything? It's like that Rodney Dangerfield movie. So he did, and his son's actually been drafted since, or maybe he was an undrafted free agent. I didn't check that, I'm not sure. But Joe Thomas Jr. is now a linebacker for the Green Bay Packers. Joe Thomas Sr., after a few injuries since 2012, he had a car crash, hurt his knee and that, couldn't play. Then he had another nerve injury. And finally, in 2016, he's at the age of 55, he's made his college debut. Outstanding stuff.
Shout out to you. Cheer to
just
you, bro.
a number.
Cheer. I'm going to bring it much closer to home. Like, that was impressive, but...
Wheel it on in.
Always
Throw it out
ripping.
and wheel it in.
Always ripping Aotearoa. Amy Satterthwaite, she's featured here before.
Yes.
Funnily enough, she, as I told y'all earlier, she led the runs and wickets in South Africa. And now, against Pakistan, in a 5-match ODI series, she's just hit 3 centuries.
Back to back.
Well, 2 of them were back-to-back, and there was another one later on. But she hit 137 not out, 115 not out, and then she hit 123. And her series average is 196.5. Reasonably impressive. Yeah. Not too shabby either. She finished 4th with wickets, 6 wickets at an average of 26 with the ball. And she took her career century total from 2 to 5.
Well, that's what I'd call an all-rounder.
She is the bomb.
Probably took a few catches in there too.
And they won 5-0.
Yeah, well.
Street sweepers, just sweeping the series. Shout out to the White Ferns. We love y'all. Wildcard, if I may, I'll just do a reading from the Bible.
Of course.
We are coming to you from Eminem's, one of his first mixtape albums, Infinite, from 1996, before he hit the big stage. Here we go. I got some meat to mince, a crew to stomp, and then 2 feet to rinse. I greet the gents and ladies. I spoil loyal fans. I foil plans and leave fluids leaking like oil pans. My coiled hands around this microphone are lethal. One thought from my cerebral be more lethal than a jeep full of people. Mate, that's just wizardry.
That's some flow. That's some rhythm. Well, hit in the lounge, put your feet up, pour yourself a nice glass of something. What have you been reading?
I have been reading a tweet.
Well, it's 2016, why not?
Jeet Raval, he made his debut, and young Hasib Hamid also made his debut for England. They both hit half centuries. Mm-hmm. They both took 3 catches, and they are both born in Gujarat in India.
Ah, really?
Hasib Hamid, his family immigrated to Bolton in England, lower socio-economic area in England, and he just made his debut for England Test team. He's a bit of a phenom, so shout out to Jeet Raval, shout out to Hasib Hamid, Gujarat's finest.
Rightio. I've had lots of good stuff to read this week. I've just been churning through some quality articles. There was the Frank Ocean interview on New York Times.
Ooh.
Didn't expect that one. Zach Lowe did a thing on the Oklahoma City Thunder, which had some quality Steven Adams quotes. There was a thing on Bleacher Report about Aaron Rodgers being a nutcase. Apparently hasn't spoken to his family in like 2 years.
Crikey.
And then there was this thing, also a thing on Noisy about Iggy Pop that was quality. There's a book coming out about him. But the main one that I singled out above all others was Tim McMahon for ESPN wrote a bloody good thing on the broken bromance between my man Mark Cuban and old Chandler Parsons at the Dallas Mavericks. They were besties, and then Cuban decided not to give Parsons a new contract, and now he plays for the Grizzlies.
Oh, shit hit the fan.
Well, you could say that.
But your list of reading was quality. Like, you could have chucked those any of those
In
up
any
and I would
order.
have been impressed.
Mate, there was some stuff. Do you want to hear a quote about Steven Adams? I wrote it down in case I needed it. From Zach Lowe's piece, he said, quote, "For the record, Adams does not love agitating opposing players. Quote, people don't like me, Adams said, and it really upsets me. I want them to come to New Zealand. We have lots of beer down there, mate." I like the fact that he said lots of and not lots of good. Because I think that's an important distinction. We don't have the best beer, but mate, we got a lot of it. And Steven Adams is selling it. Oy.
Bloody oath.
Oy.
What have you been watching?
I watched this movie on the weekend with Sam Neill called Possession, which screwed me over psychologically. If anyone's seen that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I don't think people realise how good an actor Sam Neill is. Quality stuff. But mainly what I wanted to say, I've been watching the beIN Sports Premier League channel.
Ooh.
I got to say, I was skeptical at first when they got the rights, but their other channel's crap, the European stuff, and they have their own beIN content. But the Premier League channel is actually nothing to do with beIN. They're just the middleman. It's Premier League Productions doing all this stuff. They have the kickoff show doing previews for like hours before the games. It's great. They've got they've got a show on the fantasy footy. They've got a show on the preview, the highlights. They play classic matches. It's actually what I wanted from a Premier League channel. After all these years, we got one.
Shout out to Sky Sport.
I suppose so. They got it done in the end.
I have been watching latest locker room. Denon Kemp. He had Cameron Munster on. Melbourne Storm
Right.
fullback / centre. It was very interesting hearing his story because he wasn't a highly touted junior player. And then he came through, made the Central Coast Capras, and from there he got scouted by the Melbourne Storm. And he was actually training a lot to play centre. And then Billy Slater goes down injured, suddenly he's fullback. And I would say, if Billy Slater comes back next season for the Melbourne Storm, Cameron Munster to start at centre.
I think you're probably right. After the season old Munster had.
Cameron Munster on one side, Will Chambers on the other side.
Not the worst.
Not the worst.
Not the worst. And what's next? Listening. I have been listening to... Shep Gordon was on Mark Maron's podcast this week. Shep Gordon, a long time, what did you call him, like show business manager type, managed Alice Cooper among many others. He had a pretty big role in the old celebrity chef phenomenon, starting that whole thing off. All behind the scenes, all the stuff he's done. He's not a dude who likes to chuck his face in front of the camera, and he's just like sitting there with Mark Maron spouting wisdom, spouting some of his great stories from the road all these years. Real interesting stuff. I thought that what was particularly curious about the fella is that he never signed a contract with his clients. He likes the idea that if you're not happy, you can walk away anytime you want. So they do everything sort of handshake deals. I like that.
Cowabunga.
Yeah, nice dude.
Shout out to him. Not a fan of celebrity chefs, but I'm a fan of that way of thinking. I have been listening to Lance Skywalker. Introverted Intuition. Lance Skywalker is a top dog entertainment recording artist. He's kind of one of the more recent signees, actually. Probably perhaps the most recent.
From the latest draft class.
Indeed. Introverted Intuition. A very... well, you can't say anything about the album because it's just weird. It's
Okay.
weird, it's funky. There's some hip-hop in there. There's a bit of rock and roll. There's a bit of funk. There's a bit of groove. There's a bit of jazz, bit of R&B. It's just Lance Skywalker flexing his creative muscles. And when you consider the variety, the depth to the TDE roster, Lance Skywalker is kind of an integral piece in all of that because he's just something completely different. to what Kendrick Lamar does, to what J-Rock does, to what Schoolboy Q does, what Isaiah Rashad does, what SZA does, what Absol does, what they all do.
Righty-ho.
I'd probably rank it a 4.5 stars out of 5.
Ooh. Just a little bit. I mean, I used to do that on my music reviews. I used to check not star ratings, but like out of 10s, and I stopped doing it because I kept finding that after 2 weeks, like it'd drop a star, or like I'd keep changing my mind over it when I'd listen to the album again or whatever. Like,
well, that's the beauty. I just came out randomly and just said it was 4.5. So here's an idea. Instead of dealing in numbers for cricket stats, if you average 40, you're a 4-star batsman.
If you average 50, you're a 5-star.
And then for the bowlers, you want less stars. So ultimately,
or you just have it flip the thing. You have 5 stars if you're under 25.
Yeah, but that's a bit complex.
25 to 30 is 4 stars.
So if you're a gun bowler, you're a 1-star bowler, and you're just the man. If you're a 2-star bowler, you're all right.
Well, if you have 5s going for the good and the good on both sides, then what you get is like your all-rounders can be 10-star players.
Oh, beauty.